MD, CEO of Rebot Farms Nigeria Limited, Smart Akweje, is in the studio to talk to us about this. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Smart. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we've talked about diversifying the economy over time for about 5 years now, and we have been looking at agriculture, and the government is talking about putting resources and doing all it can to ensure that we generate as much income as we can, especially the GDP from agriculture. But if you are to assess it, where do we stand now?
Well, first, one thing that I know about this government is that they are very, very good in talking and taking less action. And even the CBN is also not really helping them as it is. It's a different thing to have policy formulation, and it's a different thing to have policy implementation. I will first of all bring the area of poultry. You see, today, do you know, despite the fact that we still complain of lack of protein, whatever, that sometimes there is a particular time in the year that poultry farmers cannot even sell their egg. They will start burying their eggs or throwing their eggs away. That is the eggs from their poultry farm. They now call it egg gluts. And when you go back to look at, if the central bank should give you the statistics of the imported egg powder into this country is running into billions, because all the Cadbury's of this world, all the NASCO conflicts, all of them, they use egg powder, and yet they import egg powder into this country. So you now begin to wonder that what are we doing as a nation? The CBN came up sometime. They said they are setting up a egg processing factory somewhere in Ondo State, one in Ogun State. Can you ask the CBN, how long does it take you to set up an egg production company or the companies involved? What? These are things that should not even take more than 6 months, because the machineries are assembled already. All you just need to do is to bring them in, train experts, and now egg producers can begin to sell egg. Give them training, egg producers can begin to sell egg into this powder producing this thing. And before you know it, we will be saving billions of dollars importing egg powder. We either import egg powder either from South Africa or from Brazil or wherever, which is wrong. And these machineries are there. It will not take you 6 months. Also, when we look at, now let's get off this thing. There are some, what is it called? The federal government asked NASA, they set up one loan, they call it Agribusiness loan. They have set up the criteria. Even though when you meet the criteria, it will take them almost a year to get back to you. I have said, look, sometimes bring the MD of NASA, bring the governor of CBN, ask them questions, and throw it open. Let the players in that field come before them and ask them, look, I am a practical, personally, I'm a practical example. Everything I've done in my farm today, they are self-help. And when you look at the potentials of pork in this country, it is enormous. Now, we even have ability to even export pork out of this country. What is the government even looking at your ways?
All right. Now, but if I have to take you from the pork perspective that you have just mentioned, you are a successful piggery farmer. There are others like that who are also successful across the country. How about all of you coming together to form a great pork hub in that regard, even without a government?
You see, it is difficult because you now look at it now, you now begin to look at processing. The cost of processing is huge. If you have to process, this is a country where you don't have electricity. Immediately after you slaughter, you do blasting. After you do the blasting, you do the packaging. And the moment you package, you now do refrigeration. So when you look at all these things, preservation, when you now look at all this, it is huge. Ordinarily, I'm not supposed to even start looking for alternative electricity. Electricity alone to power a refrigerating system is so huge. Now, there is a solar power refrigerator now, freezer. It costs almost about $500,000.
Wow.
And when you look at it, perhaps cannot even take more than 500 kg. It cannot even take 1 ton.
All right.
And so how do you go about that? So it is the government. It is not, look, we have perfect policy.
That's enabling environment.
Yes, the government have set up a good policy, especially, and they are really talking about it. But then those that are implementing it, they're not implementing it right now.
All right. Well, this discussion will continue. We have interest in all of this because these are the things that touch the people on a daily basis.
Yes,
absolutely.
All right. We'll come back to this. Smart Akpejoye, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
MD CEO of Rebot Farms Nigeria Limited, Smart Akpejoye, is in the studio to talk to us on this. Thank you for joining us on TVC
We're
Breakfast.
glad to have you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Now, from the report we just read, Nigeria is losing 90 billion naira, if I'm correct, because of we are not doing enough with regards to palm oil, and if care is not taken, we will be losing about 270 billion naira. I wonder what you make of this report, because 270 billion naira. What do you make of this report?
The figure you have given is regarding palm oil alone. And before now, palm oil, look, Nigeria is perhaps one of the richest in palm oil, but
Absolutely.
today Malaysia has taken over. Malaysia came to Nigeria to understudy Nigeria, and today
To
Malaysia...
do internship.
Today, Malaysia has taken over. What went wrong with the NIFO in Edo State? Sometimes when we talked about governors not being able to pay 30,000, they are fighting over 30,000. You now begin to wonder. They're now talking about federal government increasing their federal allocation to the state. You now begin to wonder, do we even have governors that think in this country? Because Edo State alone can create employment with palm oil. With palm oil, Edo State alone can create employment for everybody in the south.
Yeah.
And there will be no unemployment. Because if you talk about those that will work in the palm, you will talk about veterinary doctors, you will talk about veterinary doctors, you will even talk about
Agric extension.
You will also talk about medical doctor, you will talk about driver, you will talk about nurses. You understand? You talk about accountants. So you look at the whole value of shame value that value chain that Agric will create. Just palm oil. Now let's also come to cocoa. Today, everybody, if you are going abroad, they will say, "Please buy me chocolate." And you're taking Nigerian cocoa out, and you are bringing back chocolate, and it's more expensive. You now begin to wonder. And this is the government. You see, government do more of talking and less action. Now, today, let us also come to the aspects of this thing, cassava. From cassava tuber alone, you can get over 5 or 6 byproducts that will create enough employment. If you look at what Nigeria is wasting on cassava, they say we want to export cassava. Why are we exporting cassava? Have we even used, have we maximized the use of cassava? Even yam, there are so many things you could extract. Nothing is waste in agriculture. Do you know we feed our pigs with cassava shafts? That either so that they will put it somewhere, they will burn it off. They don't burn it off anymore. Now, even waste fruits, they are good source for this thing, of protein for this thing, and vitamins for animals. But today we throw them away. Nigerian government do too much of talking and less action. This is where sometimes in boosting agriculture, there should be a concerted effort. There should be an interministerial committee that will look. The Minister for Agric will be there. The Minister for Road, Minister for Health, interministerial committee, because you are talking about even having agricultural produce that are not leaving the bases because of roads. Sometimes somebody was bringing some agricultural produce for us in the farm. The vehicle got stuck between Ijebu-Ode and Itoki. For 4 days, those things got perished. So when you look at some of these things, you now begin to look. What is our problem? Right. Our problem is even the government.
All right.
Leadership.
Okay. Well,
rulership, because we never had rulers in this country.
It's okay. Well, Smart, you've touched so many things, and I feel that we as a people need to look in all of those. You mentioned NIFO earlier on. NIFO in Benin has done all the research that can be done as far as a palm kernel or palm tree is concerned. Thank you very much, Smart, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And the MD CEO of Rebot Farms Nigeria Limited, Smart Akpejoye, is in the studio with us right now. Smart, good morning. Nice to see you.
Welcome.
You for having me.
Now, the government is trying to focus on oil palm as a product. We have been world giant in oil palm production once before. NIFO in Benin is an institute set up specifically for palm oil or oil palm, as the case may be. And they have done excellently well with research into anything and everything that oil palm or the palm tree can produce. What would it take to get into the labs of NIFO and bring out whatever they have, and then governments can begin
translate
to
it into something that will be beneficial.
I will quickly talk about oil palm. Okay, there is this oil palm in Okitikpa. They call it Okitikpa oil palm.
Okay.
When Okitikpa oil palm was existing, it created job for all those youths today that you see carrying harms, restiveness in the whole of Ikale land. And alone from oil palm, no part of it is wasted. No part of the oil palm is wasted. Palm kernel shafts, PKC, they use it as feeds for animal. But what has happened? You see, we have governments that perhaps does not even know what they are doing. And if you now begin to look at it, you look at, are we supposed to be improving or retrogressing? We have retrogressed in the area of agriculture. Good enough, Buhari came up and you can see him so passionate about revolutionizing agriculture, just like Jonathan government did. But you see, we see more of rhetorics, talking, and no more of action. What we should do today is that if we want to reduce restiveness, either in the north, insurgency or whatever, let us even look at the area of agriculture. If you look at the area of agriculture, you will be creating a whole lot of value chain. Because when you do it, when you are focused, when you have an intermediate this thing, you will have good roads, you have water, you have dams, irrigations. We can farm all through round the clock. Why must we wait for a particular point in time in the year? And even after even harnessing, harvesting, do we even have reservoirs? Apart from even having reservoirs, now do we even have production, value chain? We export our cassava, we export our yam. The other day they are exporting yam. The minister was happy. Are we supposed to? We've not even.
The yam got spoiled.
Yes,
sent back.
because you've not harnessed the value chain in yam processing. If you do that, for goodness sake, if we're talking about 30,000 minimum wage, if we harness our agricultural potentials, I tell you, even 20,000 minimum wage we pay, you will live a good life.
But some would say that the borders were closed to so as to encourage, when it comes to agriculture, especially rice farmers and all of that. And there's also the aspect of the anchor borrower scheme that the government came up with. Aren't those measures that we see the government putting in to ensure or help farmers?
Quickly to talk about rice again. When Lagos State came up with the area of lake rice, people were looking for lake rice. They are still producing lake rice today. But if you go to the market, would you really see lake rice? So there is a problem. That problem that we have again is government. In the first place, what the government should be doing is creating an enabling environment. Government is not the right person to go into production of rice. It should be the likes of Femi Otedola, it should be the likes of Dangote, it should be the likes of me and you, it should be the likes of him, not government. You just create an enabling environment. If you create an enabling environment, look, we will
what will that enabling environment be quickly?
Now, the enabling environment in the first place is that, what are those things that aids agriculture? Create it. What are those things that aids production? Create it. Not you going into it. So when you do all these things, so if I'm a rice seller in Daleko and I can walk to Lake Rice and I will pay and you will supply me, it is not government taking it to local government to sell.
All right.
So issues of land tenure system, issues of credit, issues of security, and all of that government should provide
Create all those environments.
All right. Okay. We have to leave it here now.
Smart Akpeju, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.